now it's time for our movie tomorrow night, which is Scrooge. And Frank Dello Stritto hasn't been on in 2 weeks. And I have a new phone number for Frank tonight. Perfect timing.
Dello Stritto, talking about movies.
Bah humbug.
Oh, dear. Okay, Joe, I see you're in the holiday season. How you doing?
I watched it online doing a little prep, and I heard him do the bah humbug.
Yep.
It's great.
Great?
Huh?
Anyway, I guess your viewers have guessed that the movie is Scrooge?
Tomorrow night, people, Scrooge at Winkham, Friday night at the movies.
Yep. 1935, the first sound version of Scrooge. Seymour Hicks plays Scrooge, and he had played Scrooge maybe thousands of times on stage. And this was his second film appearance as Scrooge. The first one was in 1913 in a silent film. And then he made the first talkie film 22 years later, and that's what you're going to show tomorrow night. And let's see, one thing to remember about Seymour Hicks, he was one of these grand old Victorian actors, and they usually became producers with their own company. So when he went into movies, he tried to get into production, and he was making a short film. He got in a fight with the director. He fired the director and hired a young guy named Alfred Hitchcock, who had never directed before.
Wow.
That's his claim to posterity.
And what film was that? Do you remember?
Oh, it's a short film. I believe it is lost. It's called Always Tell Your Wife. It was probably one reel, so 12 minutes. It was silent, and I can't find any trace of it. I'm not a specialist at those things, so somebody else might be able to find a copy somewhere, but I think it's probably lost.
Hey, Francis Ford Coppola goes to Roger Corman, and Alfred Hitchcock goes to Seymour Hicks.
You got that. Okay. Hey, let's see. What's your favorite version of A Christmas Carol?
Well, I'm not well versed in it.
Okay.
So,
my favorite version came 3 years later. The MGM version starring Reginald Owen as Scrooge, 1938. A lot of people, the 1951 British version with Alastair Sim as their version, but I can't think of a story that has more film versions than A Christmas Carol. It seems we get a new one every year. And for a while, I tried to watch a different one every Christmas. That became my Christmas tradition, was seeing what new version or different version of A Christmas Carol could I watch. And I basically gave up on that after about 20 years because there was always a new one to watch. And so I just settled down on the 1938, which I always make a point of watching at Christmas time.
Well, I'm amazed that people don't play this free public domain one on major commercial stations all the time. It's very good.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Now, I will caution your viewers that there are some bastardized versions out there that are missing key scenes, and it's not a good movie when they do that. They cut like 20 minutes out of it, which the movie can't stand. But seen in its full length, which I believe is about an hour and 20 minutes, it's not bad at all. It's a bit odd in that you don't see the ghosts. The ghosts can only be seen by Scrooge. So at the most you see a shadow or an outline, but you don't see any ghosts. And I don't know why they did that. I don't think it was cost-cutting or budget-cutting or whatever. I just thought it was something we're trying to pull off, and it kind of works. It's odd at first, and you're let down because some of these ghosts are worth seeing, especially Marley and the Ghosts of Christmas Future. You want to see how gruesome they're going to be, but you don't get that in this movie. But this is not a bad movie at all. The first version I saw was, I saw it long ago and on television, I guess in the 1980s, and it was abysmal. And then I realized later on that that's all that was really available then. And so now the people are lucky that can see the full version online for free and for an hour and 20. But check the running time. If it's much less than an hour 20 minutes, excuse me, yeah, an hour 20 minutes, that's right. Much less than an hour, 20 minutes, then look for another one online because they're out there.
Well, that's great advice. We've got 30 seconds left, Frank. We'll have a movie for next week. I'll let you know what it is.
Okay, next week I'll be in Mexico, so I'm hoping I'll have a phone number you can call. I hope my cell phone works, so I'm going to check before I leave. So anyway, I'll talk to you next week, but if not, a Merry Christmas to you, and I'll be talking to you the week after or whatever.
Merry Christmas, Frank Dello Stritto. Thank you.
Bye.
Frank Dello Stritto, that's our visual radio. Great show tonight. 4 different guests. Thanks to Kevin Russo, Joe LaRocca, and everyone. Good night.